A little background in case you don't know me. So there's my Sales Influence podcast. Go check it out. But a little bit of background because I think it's always important to understand where I came from. Like that, you can see if you want to listen to me, right? And so my background is I have a BS in electrical engineering and I have an MBA. I actually started on the engineering side, on the hardware and software development side, working for Honeywell. And so I did that for like 2 or 3 years after I graduated from college and realized, okay, this is kind of cool, but I don't like really sitting in front of an oscilloscope doing some testing. So then I became an application engineer for another company, and I was designing wireless systems, wireless systems. And then after that, I moved over to another company where we were designing wireless systems, but we were making hybrid fiber coax systems. So we had fiber networks also going on. So I came from the technology side. I'm a geek at heart. And then one day, my wife was talking because we had our child, Vic 3, and she says, is there any way that you can make more money and I can stay home? I said, well, I heard there's a position in sales in Latin America, and they're looking for somebody who can sell, has a technical background, and speaks Spanish. To which I said, muy bien, I'm your guy. And so that's actually how I got into sales. I was looking for something different. And so my career just went exceptionally well. So in sales, account manager, the routine, manager, director, regional manager, director, became VP of sales of Latin America for all of Latin America. We moved the family down to Argentina. And I grew that business from 14 million to 98 million in 2.5 years. Just crazy numbers. Then became president of sales and marketing for a $420 million company. So I had global sales and marketing. And then later on, I became CEO of a technology company up in Christiansburg, Virginia called Force. We sold that company to MCOR. And then one day I decided, May 9th, 2001, 3:48 p.m. to be exact, I decided I think I wanted to do my own thing, right? And so I'm making big bank. I decided to do my own thing, thinking, how hard can that be? I'm a sales guy, got a good background, this ought to be easy. So May 9th, 2001, again, I quit. June, I start my new career as a speaker trainer, right, doing workshops. In my first 6 months, I made a whopping 17,000. That's 17, not 70, 17. It's like, oh my God. And it was at that moment I realized that it's one thing to sell and market yourself when you're working with a big company or for a big company. But then I had to learn the bootstrap method, the entrepreneur method of actually, generating, leads and all that. And so I went all in on, I read Gary Vaynerchuk's book back in 2000, I'm guessing 7, 8, something like that. And he wrote the book Crush It or Crushing It, one of the two titles, right? Which was a fantastic book. And he was like all in on video. So I went all in on video. And so I started really using a lot of video marketing to generate leads, and drive traffic to my website. One day I was at the airport and I remember I saw a book by Dr. Robert Cialdini called Influence, right? And that was the first time I remember buying the book, said this is interesting. And it was the first time that somebody had actually looked at influence from a consumer perspective. And I remember that book impacted me quite a bit, and it took me on this journey of, behavioral economics. And then I just began to devour everything about behavioral economics. And so my title of the podcast and my first book in selling was called Sales Influence, Cialdini's book, slap word sales in front of it. And I'm more concerned in how people buy, because the buyer has changed today. We know this. I'm giving you the basics already. And therefore, how do you position things in such a way that the client goes, I get it, and you're not going for the hard close, right? Because nobody wants to be closed hard anymore. They don't. And if you don't believe that, you're going to lose. So what I want to do is I want to do 3 things. From a business standpoint, I want to zoom out, give you the macro level of how to go after a market, how to scale your business. Zoom in a little bit more, and then go into how you can increase your sales velocity, right? And then zoom in just a little more. And then how can we convert more clients? So you get a 30, 20, 10, and then we'll just do some ground tactics if we have time. Sounds fair? Just give me a 1 in the chat, man, and we're good, man. Thumbs up is also cool. So I like to have fun when I present, so just keep up with me because it goes fast. But if you miss something, you'll catch it on the recording. All right, now listen carefully, people. There's only 4 ways to grow your business. Everybody wants to complicate things. I'm going to simplify things for you. It's this easy. Well, it's easy knowing how to grow it. Doing it and executing is another thing. So there's only 4 ways to grow your business, right? By the way, this is my Vibe board. I use it for obviously doing presentations. I bought this during the pandemic, and it's cost like $3,500 and worth every penny. That's all I can tell you. If you ever want to use it, this changes everything. So there's only 4 ways to grow your business. Here they are, right? It's my little grid, 4 ways to grow your business. Let me pop my head up here on the side. Come on, you got to admit, that's pretty cool. Come on, that really impacts clients. Come on now, this is game on, right? Anyway, 4 ways to grow your business. The first one is you go out and gain new clients. Now, we can all agree that attracting new client is very tough, right? So gain is one. So in other words, prospecting, cold calling, email cold calling, whatever it may be. Strategy number 1. Strategy numero dos. And that is retention. I call that the retain strategy. Did you know that if you can increase your retention by just 5%, in other words, not lose those 5%, it can impact your margins between 80 and 90%. Why is that? There's no cost of acquisition, right? The customer's already yours. So having a retention strategy is also very important. Strategy number 3. And that is right here is grow, right? This is where upselling and cross-selling live. Now, here's what's interesting. So I wrote a book called Mastering the Upsell, which, Ben, I will send to you the e-copy, the book, and then you can just distribute it to everybody, have them download it for free, okay? So the upsell, this is all about upselling and cross-selling. Did you know that by simply focusing in on an upsell strategy, growth strategy, you can increase your revenue by up to 30%? Now let me pause here because this is too important to just skip over. Think about this. If you have an existing customer base and you just focus on selling them, you can increase your sales by up to 30%. Think about it. There's no cost of acquisition because you've already acquired them. Your sales cycle is going to be short because you already know them and you have credibility. And it's interesting, less than 10% of companies actually have an upselling strategy / process as part of their overall sales process. So even just this strategy alone is a very powerful strategy. Strategy number 4 is, I like to call this reactivate. Reactivate is really, how do we reach out to people who have bought from us in the past and have literally stopped buying, right? They just stopped buying from us. That's another strategy. So my question to you right now, this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, 4. Do me a favor, in the chat right now, I'm gonna look at it. Give me the sequence of how you would prioritize your go-to-market strategy. How would you do it? In other words, Victor, I would start with 3, then I'd go 2 second priority, go 1. How would you sequence that? Go ahead and do it. Don't think about it. Don't overthink it, people. I can see some of you guys. Don't overthink it. Come on, Marlene. Give me something, Marlene. Come on. There you go. 1, 2, 3, 4. I should go for the easy one. All right. Ben's 2, 3, 1. Okay. 2, 3, 4, 2. Oh, you're going to hit the 2 twice. All right. That's different. Oh, there you go. 2, 3, 4, 1. All right. Perfect. So again, all great strategies. The retention one is easy. I think, by the way, Mia, I really like these 2 strategies right here. 2 and 3 right here. Those are my favorite strategies. Because again, I think they're easy to implement and really train your people on this. In my book, Mastering the Upsell, I have something in there. I won't get into it right now because I don't have time. But I have something in there called the Upselling Map. Now, the Upselling Map is important. And let me give you a visual of this because most of us don't think about this. Let's say you sold product A or service A to a customer. A lot of salespeople don't know what to sell next. Now, imagine for a moment that you have a CRM, right? A CRM or some type of sales enablement platform, right? And then you're logging in all this data of all the products being sold, but you also know what else is being sold. The ideal situation is to have a product that you've sold and the system spits out. Clients who bought product A typically buy product C and product E, right? Now imagine that if I sell this product, I know the probability of selling these 2 are very high. This is the future, but it's not the future, it's here already. This is why a lot of companies are investing a lot of time, money, and effort into their CRM, and they're using a lot of what they call machine learning, which is a subset of artificial intelligence, which is, again, I wrote a book called Sales Ex Machina, which is how artificial intelligence is changing the world of selling. I'll send you that book too, and Ben, you can share that, okay? And so that book really gets into, how AI is impacting the world of selling. So I start there, we zoom out. There's only 4 ways to grow your business. Now you know, right? In other words, gain new clients, retain existing ones, grow, and then reinitiate. By the way, if you have a hard time remembering, just remember GR. You won't forget, okay? Gain, retain, see it rhymes, and then grow, reinitiate, okay? Reactivate, reengage. All right, so now that we know there's 4 ways of growing your business, that's leadership. If you're an entrepreneur, that's you, looking at your business and saying, which of these strategies do I want to implement? Great. Now let's look at sales. Let's zoom in. And so Tony will know this because he was at my presentation. There's only 4 ways to grow your sales. 4, that's it. I know, what a coincidence, right? Only 4 ways to grow your business and only 4 ways to grow your sales. Now, Donald Daly came up with this equation. I just grabbed it. I let him know I grabbed it, by the way. And I just ran with this equation because I think this is such a powerful equation. Here it is. You take the number of opportunities you have in your pipeline, you multiply it by your conversion rate, you multiply it by your average deal size, right? And you divide it by your sales cycle. This will tell you how fast you're selling. This is powerful if you understand it. Let me walk through it slowly. So let me go to a different color right here. So number of opportunities is the number of opportunities in your pipeline, right? Active clients that you're looking to close. Conversion rate is your close rate. Average deal size, if I ask you, well, on average, how much do you sell to a client, right? Now it's B2B, B2C, it doesn't matter. And then how long does it take you to close the deal? Now, let me ask you a question. What is your close rate? What is your close rate? That's an interesting question. They did a study. Corporate Visions and the folks over at CEB did an interesting study. Let me see if I can squeeze this part up here. On average, did you know, let me do it down here. Did you know that on average, you will close 40% of your deals? Yeah, which means, I'm not trying to trick you, that means you lost how many? You won those, you lost 60% of your deals, right? Now, when they looked at that 60%, they said, well, where did it go? I lost it, but where did it go? Well, they found out that 20% went to your competition, right? 20% went to your competition. The other 40% went to no decision. Think about that. Think about that. That your biggest competitor is not your competition at 20. Your biggest competitor is no decision. Status quo, we all know that. Now, there's even more data on why people can't make a decision. So I'm going to push that to the side because I'm doing a master class this Friday just on getting deals unstuck that are right there. But I wanted to highlight this right here is that 40-60, you lose 20, and the majority is no decision. I'm going to show you, I'll at least give you some hints to how you can actually kind of push a deal through and close it so it doesn't extend your sales cycle. So having said that, let me erase this right here. I want to keep my equation. I want to stay focused. All right, so now what I want to do is give you an example of how you would calculate this. Let's say right now you have 20 opportunities in your pipeline. Say, Ben, get a calculator ready for me. You have 20 deals in your pipeline. And let's say that your average conversion rate is 40%. You put in 0.4, right? Let's say your average deal size, let's just keep this simple, is $1,000. If you're B2B, it could be 10,000, 100,000, plug in your own numbers, right? And let's say that your sales cycle from top of funnel, point of contact to closing the actual deal, let's call that 30 days, right? All right, what's that number? And this will give us our sales velocity per day. It's a good metric to use with your salespeople. What do you got, Ben?
I got 266.67.
$266.67 per day. Again, it's a way of measuring your metric, right? That's your metric. Now, that's not the ooh-ah part. Here comes the ooh-ah part. Ready? Did you know that if you were to increase this by 10%, that would give you 22 deals. And in other words, if you can increase your pipeline by just 10%, it would be 22 deals. If you can increase your close rate by 10%, that would be 0.44. If you increase your average deal size, because you know how to upsell, right? Then this would be $1,100, right? Now, on this one, I got to go red on you. If you can reduce your sales cycle by 10%, that would go from 30 days to, let's say, 27 days, right? If you work that number out, here's the surprising thing. If you work this number out, let me go back to I want to give you a nice big color on this. If you work this number out, what you're going to find is by increasing your opportunities by 10%, number of people in your pipeline, improving that by 10%, conversion rate, improving the average deal size by 10%, reducing your sales cycle by 10%, your business will grow 47%. Think about that. Now, this is powerful because it's a roadmap. It's a roadmap. If you're selling or you're a manager who has salespeople, this is a roadmap because if you know, it's one of those, Victor, are you telling me what I think you're telling me? Yeah, I'm telling you what you think I'm telling you. That if I increase just this by 10%, 10%, 10%, reduce that by 10, I can grow my business by 47%. The answer is yes. Yes. And so now imagine that now you take this information either for yourself as an entrepreneur, if you're a small business owner with a sales team, you now have to implement this. Now, let's get to the implementation phase. And that is, here's how I would use this. The way I would use this strategy, because again, it's good to talk about stuff up here, but let's bring it down to earth so we could use it. Here's what I would want you to consider doing. Imagine for a moment, you can't do all four things at the same time. If you get off this conference, this video, and you try to increase the number of opportunities, improve your close rate, right? Average deal size, reduce your sales cycle, what winds up happening is you wind up doing nothing. A bunch of something, but you never do anything. So be hyper-focused. What do I mean by that? We were living in Minnesota. Quick story, right? My neighbor Harold had bird feeders, right? He would always put food in the bird feeders, but every day the squirrel would eat the food. So one day, Harold decides, and I pulled into the driveway, now I see him doing this, he's putting grease on the base of the tree. And you're like, what's he doing, right? And his thing is like, maybe the squirrel won't go up, it'll just slide down. I don't know, he was thinking this, right? That didn't work. The next day, the squirrel got the food. Again, then one day, if you're from the Midwest, you'll know what I'm talking about. He put one of those aluminum sheets around the base of a tree. Hit me with a 1 if you know what I'm talking about. Again, thinking that the squirrel wouldn't be able to go up, right? Next day, boom, squirrel got the food again. He even tried putting, you ever see those dog funnels so they don't bite themselves? Right? He put one like upside down with some sharp edges. It was getting violent. He tried everything. He tried putting the bird feeders at the edge of on the edge of the branch, hoping that the weight would collapse the actual branch and he wouldn't be, the squirrel wouldn't be able to get the actual food. But it didn't matter. The squirrel kept getting the food. My question to you is, rhetorically, why was the squirrel always going to get the food? Well, you got to understand, that squirrel's doing this 24/7, 365. What is the squirrel thinking? How do I get that food? How do I get that right there? How do I get that food? It's that type of focus that's going to make you successful. If we try to do four things, as I just mentioned with the equation, you wind up doing nothing good, or nothing well, rather, right? So what I want you to do is be focused, because you begin to see things you've never seen. Have you ever bought a car, a brand new car, and then the very next day, you go out of the street, and what do you start seeing? That car, the same car you were driving. Now, did everybody go buy that car the night before? No, they were always there, but once you bought it, you noticed it. This is what happens when you hyper-focus on a task. Where am I going? Follow me. So what if, in this month of July, what if I say, you know what? The only thing you're going to focus in on for the next 30 days is increasing the number of opportunities. That's it. Don't do anything else. Again, why? Because if you do too many things, you wind up doing nothing. And when you just focus on one variable in the equation, then that's the one you're going to improve on. And you're going to begin to see things that you didn't normally see because you're hyper-focused. Much like the car analogy. Month number 2, again, pick it. It's conversion rate. Month number 3, September, let's call that average deal size. And then October, reduce your sales cycle, right? And then at the end of 4 months, what do? Right back here again and go over and over again. Do you know what I mean? But this gives you a very concentrated plan. If you got a sales team, this is great because you're like, all right, team, here's what we're doing this month. We're working on this. Anybody who has great ideas, bring them in. If you're by yourself because you're an entrepreneur, right? Then start reading the books, watching the videos, listening to podcasts. Focus just on that topic because that's the one you want to bang at. You keep banging away at each one of these every month, you will improve. Would you agree with that, guys? Would you agree with that? I've always loved the book what was it? Atomic Habits. We've all read the book. Hit me with one if you read the book, right? Thumbs up, read the book, right? Now, I'm going to test your brain here. I'm going to test your brain. If you improve 1%, over 70 days, you'll get 2x better, right? That's what the 1% rule is. 72 days, you'll get 2x better. If you improve 1% every day for 232 days, you get 10x better. If you improve 1% over 365 days, you get 37x better. Now, when I give this people the numbers, that was in the book, people go, okay, that's great. But what does 1% mean? This is what it means. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. If you take 1% of that, right, that leaves you with 14.4 minutes in a day. Hell, let's just call that 15 minutes. Here's all I'm asking you to do. At a minimum, every day, 15 minutes on the topic, on the subject that you're trying to improve on. Minimum. What's his name? Oh, right. I forget his name, Ariely. He wrote the book Predictably Irrational. And he said everybody, you included, everybody has 2 golden hours where you're just like hyper-focused and your brain just absorbed. Figure out what that time is, what those 2 hours are. And that's when you do your highly focused critical work. But at a minimum, at least devote 15 minutes a day to becoming better. And again, you direct that at, you pick a topic, let's say it's increasing the number of opportunities. Then all I'm focusing on for July is prospecting strategies, prospecting scripts, how to do more outreach, how to create more videos, how to create more, whatever you want to do, right? To position yourself and your brand. Any questions on that? We're good? Good. All right. So, now, 4 ways to grow your business, right? Gain, retain, grow, reactivate, right? 4 ways to grow your sales, right? Number of opportunities multiplied by your conversion rate, multiplied by average deal size, divided by your sales cycle. That's how you increase your sales. Now, let's kind of zoom in one more time. I'll be cognizant of time here. We'll zoom in one more time. And now let's look at conversions. Like, how do I convert deals? How do I close deals? Now, again, I like to simplify things, but I've come up with the ultimate universal formula for sales. This is it, the ultimate formula, only to be shared right here with you guys, right? Now, I don't care what book you read on selling. Doesn't matter. I don't care what book you read on selling. I have figured out the underlying universal field theory of selling formula, and I'm going to share it with you, okay? And believe it or not, there's only 4 ways to convert people. That's it, 4. So this is going to be called the 4x4x4. Then you tell me if you agree or disagree with me. So 4 ways to convert people. Here it is, the ultimate sales formula. There it is. I'm trying to give it drama, right? By the way, so this is my equation. And I'll highlight this. Ooh, that's a badass equation right there. That is badass. I don't care what you say. Let's go through this thing, right? All right. And then again, you tell me if you agree. You tell me if you agree. But I think I'm right. I don't care what book you read. It follows this formula, right? Right there. So the first step in the universal sales formula is when we talk to our customers, there has to be some empathy. Do you know what I mean by that? You've got to understand what they're going through. I don't think any of us would disagree with that, right? We got to be what? Empathetic. Now, when I ask people, do you empathize with your customer? They always say, yes, I do, Victor. And I go, no, you don't. You sympathize, you don't empathize. Sympathy is, man, that must hurt. Empathy is, I feel your pain, right? And sometimes during discovery, we go too fast. There's a saying that you've, I'm sure, heard of. In order to close a deal faster, you should slow down to speed up the deal. Slow down to speed up the deal. Because if I'm selling to, let's say, a company, a software company, right? On B2B, let's say it's a complex sale. I need to really understand what they're going through. Now, I'm going to do my research as much as I can before I go visit the customer. But during discovery, I'm going to try to really understand. Now, here's what's interesting. If you're selling B2B, write this down. If you're selling B2B, there's only 3 things they care about. I mean, if you think about it, right? If it's B2B, I call this the value trinity. They only care about increasing revenue, reducing costs, or expanding market share. That's it. I know that if I talk to any CEO, any owner of a company, they either want to increase revenue, reduce cost, profit margin, expand market share, grab more market share. Now, if I can tie my product to obviously those benefits, to any one of these revenue, then I'm actually feeling their pain. So in other words, when I'm talking to a client, I'm always asking them, where are you struggling with? As a sales trainer, what do you think they're mostly struggling with? Increasing revenues. Why? Because they're discounting all the time, right? Or they're not positioning pricing as they should. I know that's a pain point for my clients. A lot of their salespeople don't know how to have the difficult price conversations, right? I know how to do that. I know how to reduce buyer resistance. I can help you increase your sales. Boom, I'm locked in. I mean, every time I do sales training for a company, it's almost the same story over and over again. I ask them, where are you struggling with? Close rates, sales cycle. I mean, it's the sales velocity equation. It's that simple. I know that's what they're struggling with. My job is to help them increase their sales velocity. So if I understand what they're struggling with, what their pain is, because if you know the business, you know the business. Now, sometimes in B2C, I didn't forget you, right? Sometimes I give it the 3 Ps, right? Sometimes you have to help them physically. Sometimes you have to help them psychologically. And then sometimes you have to help them financially. I spell that with a PH, by the way. Yeah, because I had to make it fit, right? But think about it. If you're selling like supplements, right? It's physical, financial, or psychologically. If you're selling just massage services, right? Again, the same thing. We have to find ways to kind of find the value. So if I can empathize with what their pain points are, B2B or B2C, then I'm there with them. I'm lined up with them. Now, the next E right here, let me see if I can erase some of this. The next E, this is where I think it gets interesting. And this is where I can't help you with this, but I'm telling you right now, this is what matters to people. The E stands for educate. Now, let me highlight this one, because you might be just kind of blowing right past this one. Yeah, Victor, educate them. Now, what's happening today in the market is that, even though buyers have more information. Well, here, let's go back. In 2011, like 11 years ago, the Challenger sale came out, the book, The Challenger Sale. And in the Challenger sale, for those of you who haven't read it, they identified 5 types of salespeople, 5 profiles. Let me see if I can remember them. The challenger, the problem solver, the hard worker, relationship, and then the lone wolf. Those 5, right? And what they found was stunning in the data. Actually, shook the sales world, right? Because they came out with 2 data points that really just shook people. Number 1, buyers are 57% into the buying cycle. 57% into the buying cycle. Big shocker, like earthquake, high on the Richter scale type of movement was that whether it's a simple sale or a complex sale, in a good economy or a bad economy, the challenger profile always did best. But who did the worst? Whether the economy was high or low, simple or complex, who always did the worst? Relationship salespeople. That right there was like, what? But we've been taught, Victor, it's all about customer intimacy. Hug your customer, num, num, num. Just be nice to them, help them out. No, turns out it's not that. What they found is that customers don't want a relationship with you until you've proven yourself to them. In other words, a relationship is a consequence of a great result that I got from you, then I want to have a relationship with you. Why? Because, look, this was 11 years ago, 57% into the buying cycle. That means they're 57% into making a buying decision. Today, some people put that number at 80 to 90% into the buying cycle. Now think about this. People go online, they look for information, right? Google said that people look for 10 sources of information before they reach out to a vendor or supplier. So they're well informed. Now you would think that this means because they're well informed, we salespeople are not needed. No, quite the opposite. What's happening is that they're overwhelmed, 1, with general information, 2, with conflicting information, and 3, remember that little no decision I talked to you about? That people can't make a decision, is because most people rather not make a decision than make a decision and be wrong. So for the first time in a very long time, you, the salesperson, are the differentiator. Don't look for product differentiation. Don't look for service differentiation. You, the salesperson, are the differentiator because how you position, how you educate your client, how you help them make sense of the information, how you help them funnel them to making a decision, that's really what customers are looking for. Customers want to make a decision. They know they need to make a decision. They know they need to change. But if we as salespeople don't position ourselves as trusted advisors, people who know, subject matter experts, then it's not going to work. But you today have that power. So if I can empathize with my clients, if I can educate them, by educate I mean give them information they don't have, give them insight, a perspective, point of view they didn't think about, right? Make them think about things they haven't thought about. Then you're selling. Then you're really positioning yourself. The third one is, this is again one of my favorite strategies here. I'm gonna give you some examples. Is to empower the salesperson to make a buying decision. Nobody wants to be pushed into making a decision. Therefore, we don't want to be pushed into making a decision. How do you position it? How do you empower people to make decisions? This is where the Cialdini and all the behavioral economics kicks in. I'm going to show you some tactical stuff now. By the way, the E down here is that full engagement, man. You have to engage them throughout the sales process. Just like I'm trying to engage you, we try to engage people through the whole sales process, right? And if I have time, I'll show you some strategies. But this is the big one. I empathize. I feel your pain. Educate. Did you know? Let me help you. And then boom, give you some options, right? Now, let's talk about options because it's even the way you position pricing. And again, this is the Mastering the Upsell book I'm going to send you guys has all kinds of strategies in there. It's going to blow your mind. It's a very tactical book. And it's going to show you how to position pricing. But first, let's understand. I got 5 more minutes. I think we're good, right? 10 more minutes, Ben? Are we good?
Yeah, we've got 20 total, so 10 minutes in Q&A.
All right. So I want to give you I want to take a moment to pause and just get inside the buying brain, right? How customers buy. I traveled the world, like literally Saudi Arabia, Tanzania, Africa, Singapore, the whole bit, right? And I always tell people, no matter where I go, I think of a candy with a wrapper, and I always do this live for them. I take a candy with the wrapper, and I take the wrapper out, and I hold the wrapper in my hand, and I said, the wrapper represents culture. I said, I will never fully understand your culture because I wasn't raised here. Then I hold up the candy. I said, the candy represents your brain, and all of our brains are the same. And I start with that analogy because it's how people think, and they think all the same in every different country. It doesn't even matter. I want to take a moment and talk about the brain, and then I'm going to give you some real tactical stuff, some of the stuff you've probably never seen before, on how to actually sell without selling. I know it sounds like a little catchy, punchline, but it isn't. So, Daniel Kahneman, who won a Nobel Prize in economics, came up with this model. I've always loved this model. This is your brain. He says there's LES, okay? Logical, emotional, survival. By the way, do you get the pun? Brain less? All right, just me, cool. All right, so anyway, so the L stands for logical. And what he said is, this part right here is system 2. The logical and survival piece is system 1. And we make our decisions based on system 1. Let me walk through it. Logical part of the brain is the prefrontal cortex, right? And what this one loves is simple messaging. Notice that if I'm giving you this message, we're doing this presentation, I am trying to simplify concepts as much as possible, right? I've gone through iterations just to try to simplify concepts because if I talk and complicate everything, all of a sudden you're going to tune out. Too often we do that to our customers. We just make things too complicated. The emotional side is there's information that you can give a client. Yay, right? Then we evolved into insight. You've all heard that. Give your customer insight. Yeah, everybody gives insight now. Then the third one is though, wait for it, is impact. In other words, how is this product or service going to impact your business? And if you can do that in your presentation, you got it. The last part here is survival, right? Now, this is the part of the brain, the amygdala, the reptilian brain that just starts alarming when it's scared. This is why people say, let me think about it. Let me get back to you. Because something that you said made them just alarm. And so people panic sometimes that they don't make a buying decision. So our job is to do 3 things when we talk to a customer. 1, simplify. Easy, right? 2, give them information but they already got that. Give them insight. Most of them have that. But show them how it's going to impact their business, right? And the last part here, this part of the brain, now watch this. This is the gesture I don't want you to forget. What we need to do is to stroke this part of the brain to calm it down. Just, shh, you got to calm this part of the brain down because when it's alarming, it doesn't want to make a decision. So our job is to reduce their anxiety. You want to understand sales in a nutshell? Like, do this with me. Just hold your hands out like this because I can see you visually. Go ahead. Hold out your hands like this. Now, this is sales in one gesture. Certainty. There you go. Anxiety. Now, if there's an equal amount of certainty and anxiety, people won't make a buying decision. Obviously, if there's too much anxiety, people are not going to make a buying decision. Our job is to increase the certainty of success and reduce the anxiety of buying. And if you can do those two things, people will make a decision. So let's talk about the psychology of buying. So if you get the brain analogy here, keep it simple, make it impactful, reduce the risk/anxiety. So let me give you some nice tactical things I like to use. I do this in my workshops, and it's a very powerful thing. There is a company by the name of Sonoma Williams who had a bread maker, right? So they had a bread maker. That's a bread maker. And they sold it at $2.75, right? And they were selling these bread makers, right? Call that A. They were selling those bread makers and things were going well. Boom, 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 selling bread makers, right? And then the market started to flatten out. So they said, you know what? Let's move up market. They created, I'm going off memory here, they created a second bread maker. I think it was at $4.29 or $4.79, one of the two. That was B. Let me ask you a question. What do you think happened? Did they sell more of those? What wound up happening is that they didn't really sell a lot of these. Sales for this doubled. Let me say that again. They didn't really sell many of those, but sales for this doubled. They thought it had saturated the market, but they didn't. Here's what happens psychologically. Delete this one from your brain. Just focus on this one. People who knew what a bread maker was bought it. But sometimes when you don't have anything to compare it to, your brain goes, I don't know, $2.75 for a bread maker. Is that a good price? I don't know. Is it a good price? I don't know. Jim, is that a good price? I don't know. Ben, I don't know. Marlene, is that a good price? So people would make a decision, and if you don't have a reference point, people sometimes decide not to buy something. But as soon as you introduce a second option, what happens is immediately the brain switches its own question. Instead of saying, is it worth $2.75? Now they're asking a different question. I forgot the difference is. Let's say the difference is $200 here. It's saying, is this one worth $200 more? Is it worth paying $200 more for a bigger bread maker? So in other words, by introducing a second option, now the buyer can compare it with the other. That's how your brain works. It's always a comparison machine. Your brain is a before and after comparison machine. And so it's able to actually just compare these two. I give people this example all the time. If I put a single burger here, that's a single burger by the way, and I put two burgers, a double rather, which would most people buy? Which would most people buy? The majority of people, unless you're really hungry, didn't eat breakfast, would probably buy the smaller one. Why? Because the brain is trying to mitigate risk. Because it might go, this might be too big. Let's just go with the small one. That'll be good enough. And so when clients see two options, they always want to where? Go here. It's a tendency. 20% will always buy this one. You always get the 80-20 rule. 80-20. You always buy this one, right? 20. So there's always going to be a luxury market for your product. People who don't care what the price is, they want the best of the best, don't care, right? Again, replace the burger with your product or your service. You'll get the idea. Now, how do I get you to buy this one? How do I get you to go that way? Do I sell you the feature, the benefit, the advantage, the gain? No. What I do is I insert what? A triple burger. Now, when I insert the triple burger, what does your brain do? Remember, your brain is a risk mitigating machine. And what it does, it says, too small, yikes, too big, let me just go with the one in the middle. What does that mean to you? If you give somebody one option, if I can summarize this, they don't know what to compare it against. So you may lose some deals, like the bread maker with only one option. When you give people two options, they're always going to lean towards the what? the cheapest one to mitigate risk. It's natural. When you give them 3 options, they're always going to lean into one in the middle. So in other words, this is where you want your biggest profit margin to be. So never propose 1, always propose 2 at a minimum, but I personally like doing 3, the triple option, and learn how to come up with triple options. This is powerful. Now, let me take this just one step forward, and then I'm wrapping up. We'll do some Q&A. So everybody gets this concept here, right? It's like the Goldilocks effect. And by the way, if you don't believe me, go to McDonald's, go to Burger King, go to Starbucks. 3 sizes. They know what the deal is. Most of them go right in the middle. Now, National Geographic's, and this is in the Mastering the Upsell book. National Geographic's did a study. I'm not trying to trick you. Here's a bag of popcorn. And then here is a bag of popcorn, right? Popcorn. They put this one at $3. They put this one at $7, right? Which one did most people buy? Not trying to trick you. If you said the $3 one, you would be absolutely correct. We've all been there, right? But then, here's something interesting. The one in the middle, where would you put it? If you wanted people to buy the one in the middle, where would you put it? Right? So what they did is they put one right in the middle. And where did the majority of people go? Let's say it was a 20-60-20 split. The majority of people went to, bam, that one right there. 3 options. Now, listen carefully. This is going to be a popcorn trick. It's going to be a popcorn trick. Pay attention. It's a popcorn trick coming up. Now, what if I don't want you to buy the one in the middle? Now, notice I'm not trying to pressure you. I'm just trying to influence your decision-making process. That's all I'm doing. What if I wanted you to buy the $7 one? Here's what they did. Nix that one. I put this one at $6.50. Now, which one did most people buy? Yeah, but what changed? Remember, when this was $5, you're like, how hungry am I? Too small, too big, just right. But then when I put $6.50, what did your brain just do? What did your brain do? It said, for what? 50 cents more, I could just get what? That one. And automatically you discount. You're not even looking at this option anymore. So when you're doing a pricing proposal, if you want to use the triple option, the distance in pricing of these two should be closer than this one to this one. And people will automatically focus on that side. And that is how you sell options. I could go on, but I want to be respectful of time and be able to answer some questions. Ben, all yours. Thank you.
What do you think, guys? Questions in the chat box so you can speak up.
Marley says, love the alliteration. What's the name of that board again? This is a Vibe board, a V-I-B-E. You go to vibe.us. If you enter Victor Antonio, you should get a discount, by the way. I think it's like a 10% discount if you do Victor Antonio. Okay? But this thing is just, this is me. I mean, you can put your PowerPoints on it. You can do Zoom calls through this. It's an amazing board. It's just, I bought it right after, let me see, the lockdown was March 2020. By April, I was beginning to get cancellations and contracts. I think by May, I said, I need to really redo my virtual space. So if you're in my studio, I got a green wall there, black wall there, and then my yellow wall here. And so I usually move my studio around and do virtual conferences from here. It's very powerful. And by the way, it changes if you're doing a presentation where you can draw and outline things, this is such a powerful tool. Just to do stuff like this, just like, oh, that was pretty cool, Victor. How'd you do that? It's not that hard. It's just a little box. That's all it is. A little switcher box.
Will it save? Oh, sorry.
Go
Will
ahead.
it save, like if you've done a pictorial or something, can you save that image?
Yes, you can. You can save the image, yeah. You can save the image. You can upload it. I can actually, if you had one or you're on Zoom, I can actually, Marlene, we can share and actually work on something together. I can create a room and we can work on something together. Yeah, I mean, it's powerful. I mean, no, I mean, if you do a lot of presentations, what's even cooler, and I don't have my PowerPoint here, I'll just show you. Let me see if I can do it real quick. So I'm gonna get out of here. And then, so usually when I do, oh dang it, I actually was in there. But I can put my PowerPoint slides there. And so I'll do this. And that's what I think. So I can do a full slideshow here.
Oh, cool.
And so what I do is, and then I'll do this, like right before everybody comes on live, like, put some music in the background, and then do that, and then come live. And then so every time I'm talking, by the way, so here you can actually write on your slide, like if I wish I had hair, we look something like that, you know. The good old days, the good old days, oh, the good old days. But so you can do that, and so if you have what you can do is draw the boxes first on your PowerPoint and then come in and actually write it. And the engagement level is so much higher because as I was talking, you guys were like, what's he drawing? You were also saying he's a horrible drawer, but that's okay. I can't understand anything. But you're with me as I'm drawing, and that's what makes this powerful.
Victor, I have a question. Let's say you were working with a company and I like your 3 proposal, but would you try to find out what the company's budget is, or would you just come up with 3 proposals and then, as you said, if you wanted them to have the most expensive, you would put the middle one close to that?
Yeah. By the way, it's a great question. First of all, I like to look at, let me just get out of there. I want to show you, I want to be able to write on this because I want to show you something that's really interesting. The answer, Jim, is I want to know what the budget is. Study after study keeps coming out that the best salespeople are not afraid to talk money. They're just not. Do you know what I mean? And I like to frame the number. So if the customer, like for example, I ask customers, I said, give me an idea of what we're talking about in terms of budget. Are we talking, usually I let them, if I already know the product, I know what the range is, but I said, give me an idea like that. I can kind of customize something specifically for you. And then you'll have some wise ass always say, well, you tell me what the budget should be. I don't know if you've had that one before. That's one of my favorites. And I usually say, fine. I said, if we're just doing this, it could be as low as this. Or if you want to do something like that, like this, it could be as high as this. Let me ask you a couple of questions and then we can narrow down. And I'm sure you'll want to be closer to the lower number. And they'll usually say, yeah. All right, a couple of questions, I'll get there. Let's do it. But don't be afraid, Jim, to have those conversations. And then what you can do, Jim, that strategy I gave you, that's called technically an asymmetrically dominant decoy. It sounds cool, doesn't it? But anyway, what I want to do now is give you something it's in the book called the downsell. So let's say, Jim, let's say I'm a travel agent. Jim, you come to me with your spouse. You said, Victor, we want this vacation. Our budget is $20,000, right? Victor, that's all I'm spending, $20,000. Don't try to sell me any more, right? And so then I would do this to you, Jim. I said, all right, I would come with this proposal. I would do my research and I would come back with this. Jim, guess what? I found something at $20,000. It's a 5-star hotel, right? And you got, I'll just call it coach airfare, right? You with me so far? Then I said, now, I got another option here. It's $25,000. And this one's 5-star and business class. But I also found this deal that you might be interested in. And it's 3 stars and it's coach. All right? Now, what did I just do? You told me your budget was right there at $20,000. Notice that that's the first one I gave you because I'm letting you know, I heard you, I'm giving you your number. But here's what else I found, right? And so all of a sudden, I'm looking out for your best interest. Now, when I give you this one right here, this 18,000, that shocks a lot of people. Like, 'cause that's a pattern interrupt, right? Like, he actually went under. That's not a typical salesperson. They usually go up. There's a study done by a company called Tether that analyzed 2.5 million calls, right? And what they found is that salespeople who use a downsell method actually close 46% more deals, which is counterintuitive because you're taught, well, don't give them the cheaper option. They might take it. And what they don't understand is that by doing this, they may take it, great. I can upsell them later, Jim, if you know what I mean, right? But what will happen is they'll say, this person is looking out for me. Jim's looking out for me. He presented me the option. I'll be like, nah, and then what I'll do is I'll just look at these two right here. And then the question I'm going to ask myself is, I'll look at the wife and go, for $5,000 more, we can just go first class. Let's do it right. Right? And then next thing you know, boom. And then you can sell up, you could kind of mention a little bit the discomfort of coach. It's 2-stop. Coach is going to be a little hard. But that's a great option, though. And if you don't mind long flights, that's fine. But notice that, what am I doing? Remember there was empathy, there was education, then there was empower. I am empowering them to make the decision. Which one would you want to choose? Which one do you want? And that's powerful because you're not hard selling anymore. Any other questions? Great questions, by the way, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.
Come on, push me, guys. Come on, give me a hard question. Come on, go deep, go hard.
If you have time, I'd love to hear you talk about the endowment effect.
Oh, you like that? Everybody likes the endowment effect. The endowment effect is a powerful effect. It's not that I have time, it's you have time. So the endowment effect is, you would pick that one. That's such a good one. That's one of my favorite. I actually pulled that one out because I asked too long to explain that one. So the endowment effect, it's like, okay, let me just set this one. It is a badass strategy once you understand it. You get it, you get it. So I'll have to set this up, and Ben's probably seen the video on this, which is probably why he's asking me. So you ever go to a store to buy chocolates by the pound, by weight? And imagine for a moment that you go in there and, I like Raisinets, right? And so I say, boo, give me some Raisinets, right? So I say, I'll take a pound of Raisinets, right? I'm going for it. Wife's not around, I'm going for it, right? Give me a pound of Raisinets. So what happens is the counter is typically eye level. The scale's right here, the digital readout's right in front of you. They put a small piece of paper, the wax paper or a bag, let's say a bag, and then the person begins to scoop. Shh. The LED thing goes tick, 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 tick. All of a sudden, dopamine kicks in because dopamine is an anticipation, like excitement drug, right? It kicks in. So, shh, tick, tick, tick. Man, and that thing's getting closer to a pound, and your brain's just really getting excited. The person gets to a pound, you're like, bag it up, right? Let's take that home. That's scenario number one. Scenario number two. Let's say the same thing. Pound of those Raisinets. Shh. Tick, 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 tick. Dopamine, right? Dopamine, right? Then the guy takes one big scoop, goes over a pound, and then scoops them out. What does your brain do? Your amygdala, the survival brain, is like, what the? Hey, put that back. We've all been in that situation where you're in a buffet line and you got burger and fries, and all of a sudden they put fries. These are fries, by the way. These are fries. They put the fries on the plate. They put more fries, and then they take some fries out. And you're like, what the? Did anybody else see that? Those are my fries. What happens is once the fries hit your plate, once the chocolate hit your bag, you've taken mental ownership of that. This is important. I'm having fun, but this is important. You have taken mental ownership of that candy and those fries. Now, they did a study where they divided two groups, right? People into two groups. Group one, group two, right? Now, group one, I'm going to give you a car that's fully loaded. Fully loaded. In other words, has every feature you can imagine. Group two, basic. Okay, basic car. Now, listen carefully. Group one, if you're group one, you can identify as group one. That's kind of funny. You can identify as group one. Yeah, you can identify as group one. So as group one, you can identify as group one is fully loaded, right? Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to take out what you don't want. And then everybody in the room will have a different price. We'll add up everybody's price, take the average, divided by the number of people, take the average, and then come up with a number. That's group one in a separate room. Group number two, they have the base model price. And then I tell them, okay, you can add whatever you want to the car, whatever features you want to add to the car, you can add it. Then we'll calculate everybody's price, divide by the number of people, come up with an average price. My question to you is, hit me in the chat on this one. I'm not giving you the answer. You get it. Which one will have a higher average price? Group one or group two? What do you think? Group one or group two? Come on. Come on, Jim, vote. Come on, Marlene. Don't punk out on me now. Come on, vote. Come on, group one or group two? Come on, Ben, you in there? Two. Group one, group two. Which one will have a higher average price? Ben is with one. Tony's with one. Pat is with two. The answer is one. Why? I gave you the answer. You guys failed. You two people failed, right? Now, here's why. Here's why. Remember, once I take mental ownership of something, it's hard to give it up. What happens here is, let's say I have a $50,000 car, fully loaded. Because I've taken mental ownership of all the features, to give something up causes me brain pain. So I'm less likely to want to take things out. Now let's go over here. It's a different type of brain pain. Because the base model is only $30,000, every time I add something, it causes me like, oh, do I need that? Oh, how much is that again? Does that cost? And all of a sudden, every time you add something, it's painful. So this answers the question once and for all. Do you start high or do you start low? The answer is you always start high. Because, and then again, you list out everything. Now the customer's going to say, whoa, Victor, that's more than I expected to pay. And what should you do? Here's what you should do. Turn the proposal around, slide it back across the desk, and you tell the customer, give them a red pen. It's got to be red. And say, well, why don't you cross out what you don't want? And then I'll go ahead and recalculate the price. Now, what do they have to do? If they got a bunch of line items here, and they got to cross this out with a red pen, it becomes very painful. Because I might need that. I might need that. Maybe I shouldn't leave that. I might need that, right? And then they'll cross out less things. But notice that they do the crossing out, not you. That's the endowment effect. And I'm telling you right now, this strategy works. When somebody says that's more than I expected to pay, people go, well, what would be a reasonable price? Horrible answer, right? Well, let me go back and recalculate the price and see if we can come up with something for you. Horrible idea. I got you right there. Why don't you go ahead, look at the proposal, take out what you don't want, and I'll recalculate the price, and we can get the contract going. That's the endowment effect. Once you take ownership of something, it's hard to give it up. So there it is. So by the way, to kind of juxtapose this with, if you don't want to use 3 options, you can use the fully loaded option. If you only want one big proposal, just put all the line items in. Good question. Thanks, Ben. I love that strategy, by the way.
That strategy made me a lot of money, Victor.
Dude, that is it's money, man. It's money.
It just completely changed the way I would complete a presentation.
Yeah. I tell people this one, they're like, does that really work? I'm just saying, that in the triple option, and then you start using the decoy to move them over to the bigger one, I'm just telling you, it's going to change the game. And again, you're not pressuring, you're just nudging people, like psychologically, and, it just works. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, hey, Victor, is there a scenario that you could think of that you wouldn't want to provide options?
Is there a scenario I can think about where I wouldn't want to provide options? If I believe, and I'll give you the best answer I can here, Pat. If I believe that by giving them 3 options, it's going to confuse them, then I don't want to do it, right? So, and I don't know if I'm answering your question, but that's the best I can come up with. So, for example, if I got like that deal right there, 3 options, right? What I would try to do is, because again, a lot of indecision is that customers, Brent Adamson, who wrote the Challenger sale, he's with, I think, Gartner right now. He said something that was interesting. He says, it's not what people think about the product or price. He says, how they feel about themselves making that decision. In other words, their level of confidence. He said a lot of people are struggling with low confidence in making a buying decision. So again, what is our job? Is to help them make sense of what's going on. So let's say, based on our conversation, Pat, we got 3. I mean, these are 3 things we can look at. But based on what you said, the reason I wouldn't choose that one is because of ... This one might be too big, and then you have to give them the why all the time, right? Because here's why. And then they're going to go, yeah, you're right. Yeah, why don't we do this? Let's just go with this option. And then later on, we can go with that option. And so what I've done, Pat, is I funneled them. But here's what's interesting, Pat, that one of the things they're finding is that our ability to de-risk a proposal is what makes the difference between people closing and not closing. So what I just did here, I said, let's go here. Your brain, the amygdala, is calmed down. It's not freaking out, right? But then you also say, and once we get that one done, phase 1 of the project, we can move into phase 2 once we hit these metrics. So that's the only time I could think of right now, Pat. Maybe later on I'll go, I should have said that to Pat, but it'll come back later. But that's the best way. Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Thank you.
Cool. Anybody else? We're having fun, aren't we? Sales is cool, man. Like I said, once you get some of this stuff down, it's a really fascinating thing, the world of selling. Anything else? What do we got?
That was really good. I have to bounce, but that was so amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marlene, for hanging out. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Ciao, everybody.
Victor, what's our next step? 15 minutes a day. Where should we go?
If you just want like free stuff, the Sales Influence podcast, right, which you can find everywhere, And then I have my YouTube channel. Just type in Victor Antonio. I got like, I don't know, over 1,500 videos on there. And as you know, I got something called the Sales Velocity Academy. So if you go to Sales Velocity, that should sound familiar, Academy. That's my online academy right there, the Sales Velocity Academy. And so that's I call that my curated content. And those are full courses like on how to close, how to present, how to do a lot of things. It's more formalized, where the stuff on YouTube or the podcast are just kind of like bits of information. So that's where I would begin. I mean, with the free stuff, the Sales Influence Podcast, YouTube, check out the videos on there, register, subscribe. And then, again, if you want the more formalized learning, this is it. We got about, we've broken this up into 7 Ps. Like one is prospecting, presentation, persuasion, a big one. Staying positive, and I forgot the other 2 offhand. But we've broken them into 7 Ps. And so if you go in there, you'll be able to say, you know what, I want to focus on this P right now, prospecting, for example, or presentation, sales process, stuff like that. Great content, though. And then all my books are in there. I actually have 14 books, by the way. And Tony says, selling ain't hard when you know how. There you go. That's how you do it. Cool, cool, cool. All right, guys.
Cool. And we'll make sure that everyone gets the freebies, and the people that couldn't attend today get the link, the freebies, everything for you, Victor. Appreciate your time.
Hit me with the email as a reminder, and I'll send those books over to you. Okay, Ben?
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
All right, guys. Thank you for your time.
I was just to tell her I can vouch for the Sales Velocity Academy. I'm a lifetime member, and it really is. It's, there's a lot of people out there that sell a lot of garbage, but it really is, there's just so much to watch, and I don't even Anthony or Victor might know how many hours are there total, but
it's a lot.
There's a lot. It's well worth the price.
By the way, I should let you know, Tony, you're going to love this. So as of today or tomorrow, we used to charge for master classes, the live master classes that we did every month. We're now going to include the live master classes, so there's no fee for those at all. So that means every month I do a live master class. I got one coming up this Friday. So if you're in the Sales Velocity Academy, this Friday I'm doing one on just indecision. I kind of alluded to that earlier. And so, yeah, Tony, you can jump in now, man. Just like you don't have to pay. Just jump in and watch the actual master class, man. Cool?
I'll have to think about whether or not I can make that.
All right. You want me to go with the I'll think about it response? When somebody tells me they have to think about it.
I'm undecided on whether or not I should go.
But there you go. That's exactly why you should go then. How's that? All right, man. I'm out of here, guys. See ya.